This is the ABQ Business Podcast with your host, Jason Rigby. Each week we'll interview visionary business leaders to inspire the creative power and spirit that's in every entrepreneur. Discussing strengths, weaknesses, strategies, systems, and the problems we can all solve together for a new future for local small business.
The weather is changing. It is fall time, guys. I know some of you love that. You love when it's cold. You want to go to the pumpkin patch and take the pumpkin spice latte and wear the scarves, the scarves, the sweaters, all of that, and just all pumped up. It's fall time. I actually like fall. I think it's good. I just hate that it gets so cold because I'm a sun person. So moving from Seattle to Albuquerque, I've gotten so spoiled right now. Just loving this sunny weather that's all the time. Where in Seattle, I was used to just constant, cold and cloudy. And some of you are in Seattle and you listen to this, and I know, and I feel your pain. I know where you're at, and you should go to Arizona and take a vacation, or go to Albuquerque here, take a vacation. You'd absolutely love it. But today is cold and cloudy. I've got my coffee cup here. I got this new coffee cup on eBay, and it says, "You only get one life, so do it all." You only get one life, so do it all. So how do we do it all? And that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about personal barriers, what they are, how to overcome them, and how you can level up and go to that next level through dealing with these personal barriers by becoming self-aware. Someone asked me the other day, if you could describe your podcast in one word, what would it be? And I said self-awareness. They're like, why is that? It's a business podcast. Because I know as a leader, the more self-aware I am, the better leader I'm going to be, the more influence that I'm going to have, the better husband, wife, partner that you can be, the better parent. All of those things, by being more self-aware, all of those things just, escalate down in a good way. And they create like this domino effect that allows you to be able to be effective in everything that you do. So what are personal barriers? Well, personal barriers in life, they're things that impede you, and they impede the desired growth that you have in your life. They impede you personally, in maybe it's whether it's socially with relationships. They impede you professionally and spiritually. So these barriers may be psychological, they could be emotional, and overcoming barriers help you achieve the desired outcome, such as doing bomb personal development, having career success, maybe interpersonal relationships. You have issues with those, and we'll get into each of those and the problems that happen. So personal barriers in life, they have the potential to prevent growth. They have the potential to screw you up emotionally to the point to where you're negative all the time or depressed. They can screw up relationships. Maybe you're falling from that same person kind of over and over again. It's a different person, but it's the same pattern. And you just keep doing that over and over again. And then you're asking why, and you play the victim. And I'm going to give you a story real quick because I want to kind of show you through this story about personal barriers. So let's say that you're wanting to take a trip to New York City and you've never been. This is pre-COVID. And you're so excited, and you've gotten the plane tickets, and you've been working at this, and you've saved up your money, and you're ready to go. You're going to stay at this 4 or 5 star hotel downtown in the heart of it all, and you're going to try these 3 or 4 different restaurants that you've looked at on Yelp. You're just ready to go. So you get on the plane. You're so excited. You get there. You take the Uber to the hotel. Bam. Life is the best. You open the blinds, you see all these skyscrapers. Man, this is like the most amazing city. You go take a walk down Central Park. People are so nice to you. You go to several different restaurants, have some of the best food you've ever had in your life. It's just, you're just like, wow, could this be any better? Maybe someday in the future, I could even afford to live here. That would be so awesome. You're just so excited. Well, one night you have to go to this certain restaurant, and it's not far from the hotel, so you decide to walk. And you have to walk down this little tiny alley to get to the back of the door where this little hidden gem of a restaurant is. Well, sure enough, you walk down the alley. It's kind of dark. It's getting kind of, you had that 9 o'clock reservation. So it's about 8:15, 8:20. And then this guy pops out with the leather jacket, the big sunglasses, looks grimacing, over 6 feet tall. And he says, "Give me your wallet, or give me your purse." And you've just been mugged. and you don't know what to do. You have this blur of fear that's all over you, and you just instinctively just hand this over. Here, take it. And then he takes it and he runs away. And you're just sitting there sobbing, crying, don't know what to do. Everything's blurry all around you. And then you just start turning towards the hotel because that's the only thing you can think of. You have nothing. Your passport's gone. Your IDs are gone. All your debit cards are gone. The cash that you did have is gone. Everything's gone. And in that one moment, that whole trip becomes ruined. Next thing you know, you just order room service. You're just laying in your bed for the next few days. You're crying in the shower all the time, calling friends and family, trying to figure out credit cards with banks and all kinds of stuff. It just turned into this most horrific situation that you could even imagine. Fast forward 6 months, a year from now, you're at home. You don't like going out at night. You can never walk down dark alleys ever again. You're afraid of anyone that has a leather jacket on or sunglasses or whatever. You're always suspicious of people. It begins to affect your relationships. You don't want to go out at night and go to dinners with friends. And family, you have to do things with the family. You either go over, you just drive straight to their house and you hang out with them at the house. You have a distrust for people now. See, that one personal trauma that happened to you created this whole futuristic self-deprivation of all the interconnectivity of your life, the relationships, the professional, the spiritual, the desired growth that you've always wanted. This continual trauma fear has caused you to be like you're in quicksand. You can't move, and the more you move, the more it gets worse and worse and worse. And that's what personal barriers do. So how do I fix them, Jason? Well, first we have to define them so we can become self-aware enough to be able to fix them. Everybody always wants to skip to the fix phase. But it's like you can't understand the story and then get to the end of the book and just read the ending. The ending doesn't become powerful until you begin to understand the complete story, the hero's journey. So personal barriers in life, how do we get them? Well, one, we get them by playing the victim, because what could happen if we didn't play the victim with that situation in New York? Yeah, it was horrific, but it was the past. There's no such thing as the past or the future. Whoa, 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 whoa. Jason, what are you saying? I'm fixing to turn you off. There's no such thing as a past or the future. I could tell you all kinds of stories of the past, and my anticipation for the future is positive, and this is the direction I'm going. I'm always focused on the future. Tell me one person, for fact, I'm talking fact, one person that you know or I've ever heard of that has gone to the past and come back to tell the story of it. That's true. Tell me one person that has gone to the future and has come back and told you a story of it. Go to physics, the laws of physics, and understand that all of those are theories. String theory, they're all theory. It's not a fact. The only thing that's a fact is now what's in the present right now. The only way that you experience the past is the emotions that you tie to it. That's the only way you experience the past. You're not living the past right now. You can't do that. It's impossible. So when you think about the past and give all this fear, guilt, worry, and mainly guilt is what happens when we look to the past. Or you go to the future, and you're always constantly looking in the future, and so you're anxious because you can't be in the present moment and understand it. So it creates this anxiety where you're constantly battling time. You're constantly looking, I'm not where I need to be. I need to go farther. Future. And so you've created this like rabid just fight all the time. So one of the things that I really enjoy when I look at my personal barriers specifically is finding these things that are preventing growth. Because if I can find these little keys where I can find these little, I call them hidden gems of ways where I've played the victim or I look to the past or the future, then I can fix it. I can easily fix it. And then I don't create new problems because I'm just relying on that same. You guys have seen that. Maybe you've done this, or you've seen friends or family that do this. They just constantly go to the same relationship over and over again. And I shared that before, where it's just that same person, but they have a different face and a different meat suit. But it's the same attitude that we're attracted to over and over and over again to feed the insecurity of our personal barrier. So where do these personal barriers arise? How were they developed? We need to look at the development of them. Well, one is age. So maybe something happened to you with an older person that you experienced when you were younger, or maybe maybe you're young and you don't like old people and think they're irrelevant. Age creates so much wisdom either way. If you're an older person, you need to look to the younger people that just wear hoodies, jeans, and T-shirts, but they're billionaires now. They're smarter than us. They know the way of what we should be doing in life in their little specialized genius. I watched speaking of that, I watched the interview, and I encourage you to do it, with Joe Rogan and Kanye West. And you're like, well, Kanye West is crazy, blah, blah, blah. What's the definition of crazy anyways? That man's a genius. His design, creativity, the things that he wants to accomplish, that's genius. And I'm not saying he doesn't have mental issues. I know a lot of creative people have that. I mean, all of us have mental issues. Whether he needs to be on medication or something, that's for him to decide as an individual. It's not for me to prejudge. That's prejudice, me prejudging to somebody else. But as far as his music, his design work that he's done in fashion, and what he's doing right now, trying to fix the farming and school systems, and he looks at all these systems in like this 4D chess way. And I'm going to get off of that, but I encourage you to listen to it, even if you disagree. And those are things that we should listen to, things that we disagree in, because they help us understand. And so that's somebody that is designing shoes and a rapper, and you say, oh, well, I would never listen to that. Well, then you should listen to that. That's the age barrier. Income barrier. The income barrier, this perception of people that have and don't have, the haves and have-nots. What is that? What barrier have we created through the stupid pieces of paper with dead presidents on them? There's no such thing as wealth. It's all it could be gone tomorrow. So we've created these age barriers, we've created these income barriers, then we've created background barriers. People raised in different backgrounds. You have different perceptions from the way that you were raised. If you're raised in a whole different country, you're going to have a whole different perception. And I always tell people, if you've been raised in one little city and you've got a little bit of funds, backpack through Europe or some other country and go look at all the different types of cultures, and you'll come back to your city and have a whole different understanding of what life is and how people live in the rest of the world. It's not just your city or not just your country. There's so many different perceptions of how people view things and how many differences that they are. So not only do you have age barriers, income barriers, background barriers, but you have racial barriers. And we're experiencing that right now here in the United States. Different cultures have different barriers based on prejudice, preconceived notions, and even upbringing. And we can see that compared to down south, compared to the Midwest, to the East Coast and the West Coast. These racial barriers that are happening by not understanding specifically what that other person is going through and sitting down and having a meaningful conversation. You're not having a conversation with somebody until it's meaningful, and looking eye to eye and wanting to know more and listen and understand with love and a sense of unity. That's what fixes problems. Not the back and forth, not hate. Hate has never fixed problems. Not the I'm this and you're not that. We're all humans. And it's the stupidest thing in the world to judge someone off the color of their skin. Science is creating where we're going to be able to have pink people and purple people and all these different types of wild rainbow people, all these different types of colors. There's designer babies. That's going to happen. We can already change colors of eyes to wild colors. We can do so many different things. You're going to have a purple person with pink eyes in the future. What are we going to do? How are we going to segregate them? It's just horrific. People are human, and I believe, I'm religious, I believe everyone has a soul. And the things that we do in our life in helping and loving and bringing peace is what counts. And I don't want to be any part of any movement or any situation with anyone or anything that doesn't have that as its two main goals. How can we show love? How can we bring unity and peace? I'm all in then. And that's why I don't talk about a lot of it on my podcast, because it's just so negative. And you're like, well, Jason, it's what's happening in the world. Okay, well, then put the news on for 4 hours straight and watch it for 4 hours and see how your body changes. Do that every day and see what happens. Are you going to be motivated to go out and be the best version of yourself? No. Go on Twitter for an hour straight and look up everything with the left and everything with the right and see how you feel after that. I want nothing to do with any of it. If it affects me and makes me not be the best version of myself, I'm out. I'm totally out. Don't want anything to do with it. Do I have responsibility? Yes, I do. But I have responsibility to be at the highest vibration of love, peace, and unity. And that's what I'm going to try to aspire to do. And that's why I do this podcast, to share this different viewpoint to you guys so that you can be the best versions of yourself. Because if you're the best version of yourself, you're going to influence the people around you. And if everyone starts to begin to influence the people around you and begins to lift humanity up, guess what happens? We have a better society. We're not arguing. We don't have division. If you are the leader that you're supposed to be, and you influence others and they become leaders, and then they become leaders, and then their children become leaders. And over time, all of these issues that we face by us being the best versions of ourselves begin to just fade away. Why? Because we are together. We love each other. We're seeking peace. And we have this desire of unity because we know who we are and what we've overcome. And we look at that other person with compassion, and we don't judge them. We love them. Okay, let's get back on. Don't get me started on that. I've been getting a lot of DMs on that. And so I needed to put that out to rest of where I'm at in all of this. So there's emotional, mental, and communication barriers. These emotional barriers, usually the emotional barriers, they develop over time, and they're experienced by trauma. So go through, if you want to fix this, go through your life, find the trauma that's influenced you the most. You probably have 3 to 5 things that's really been horrific in your life. Some of you may have more, and you've gone through a lot, and maybe you need to do counseling or whatever, to go through those. But you need to find out that trauma is creating personal barriers in your current now life. And you say, well, how does that work? Well, let me give you an example. Maybe you're a new mother and you've had your baby and you've had it for 6 months, and now your husband wants to go out and have dinner, and he wants you to be a wife. You've been a mom for 6 months, and he's been a dad for 6 months, and he just wants to go out, and you're just like, I can't leave the baby. Not going to have a caregiver. The odds are everything's going to be all right, right? The odds are you give it to the caregiver, if they're responsible and you vetted them, you're going to have a good time. You're going to be able to take a break. You're going to be able to drink a glass of wine, have an amazing dinner, be a husband and wife, work on the relationship, be able to talk without having interruptions, and just have an awesome time. And you're going to go back home and be even more appreciative of your baby, right? But where did that anxiety come? That mom didn't experience that before she was a mom. She had no idea of that. You see, we develop these emotional barriers. I'll give you another example. Maybe you've been cheated on by a partner. So now you've created this emotional barrier. Well, that will never happen again. So you never get close to anyone. And so you never have a good relationship. Or you play it safe, and to the person that you really loved, you go with the boring person or the ugly person or whatever you perceive it to be. I had somebody tell me that. I only go out with really ugly people. What is that? What does that even mean? It sounds horrific. It's just, so you're that selfish and that judgmental that you're going to look at this person and say, I'm hot and you're ugly and and you deserve me, so I know you won't cheat on me. You're going to impose that much insecurity in the relationship. Guess what? That one's going to fail too. Because you just threw mass amounts of ego and insecurity into that whole thing and made yourself to be better than. It's bullshit. Communication barriers. Like I said, communication has to have a meaningful conversation. We need to find commonality as leaders. Get rid of the misinformation. What misinformation do you have in this barrier that you're communicating to yourself and that you're communicating to others that you love? Find the misinformation. Logically figure it out. Okay, I got mugged in New York. But guess what? I know the odds of that happening to me now, pretty slim. And I've been taking personal defense classes. So if it does happen to me, I'm going to make sure I handle this right. Misconstruing situations because you're putting your bias into it. Instead of having the meaningful conversation and communicating and coming right off the bat and say, can you share with me with this situation? I want to understand first where you're at in the situation so that we can create common ground with this. I want to completely understand. Some of you sit on information and you just dwell on it and worry about it, and you never deliver it in a timely manner. All of this personal barrier of communication leads to problems in whether it be in your work environments, whether it be in social settings, personal relationships. It all leads to problems, and it will create conflict. That's what it does. When you don't communicate properly, if you take the absence of having that meaningful conversation out, all that's left is what they're thinking and what you're thinking. And then there's this little silent bubble that's sitting there of conflict. You have to communicate. If you have a hard time doing that, buy the book, Crucial Conversations. I've mentioned it before. It's called Crucial Conversations. You can get on Amazon right now on Kindle. It's inexpensive. They also have paperback. It's an amazing book. It will help you be able to communicate properly with others and get to the root of the problem. So I hope you understand what personal barriers are, how they manifest in the now, and how they can affect you negatively and how they can impact your life. And like I said earlier, like dominoes, how they come out and how you can overcome them by being self-aware and recognizing them. Find the past trauma, find that negative experience that you had in your life, work through it to understand it. Understand that that was a past belief that you had that has nothing to do with the present, and that you should not impose that insecurity on someone else that's innocent because you're dragging all that so-called negativity from the past and all those skeletons and those big suitcases of fear, guilt, and worry. Think of it that way. Big suitcases of fear, guilt, and worry. And you're saying, here I am. And here's all my junk that I haven't dealt with yet. It's unfair to do that to someone. It's unfair to do that to your business, to your relationships, to everything that you have in your life. And I want you to do one thing right now. One thing. Decide that you want to change. Decide that you want to level up. Right now, Jason, I want to change. This has been negative in my life. This barrier has caused me to have so much hurt in my life, and I'm done with it. I want to change. That minute you make the decision to change and you tell yourself you're going to change, this motivation comes from out of your intuition and says, okay, let's work on this. And it's going to be tough, like everything in life that you want to do when you want to change. But keep working through it. And I guarantee you, if you work through that, on the other side of it, you'll be the best version of yourself. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for joining us on the Albuquerque Business Podcast. And thanks to our sponsor, RigbyDigital.com. Make sure to subscribe and share, and go to abqpodcast.com. Get show notes, resources, and links to everything we talked about today to help you navigate your journey as an entrepreneur and business owner.